In the final years of apartheid, as South Africa stood on the edge of freedom, a chilling question began to surface. Was HIV/AIDS merely ignored by the apartheid state, or was it deliberately weaponized? Thanks for watching the Bongani Menze YouTube channel. New explosive allegations suggest that apartheid-era operatives may have orchestrated a covert biological warfare campaign aimed at spreading HIV among black South Africans. The goal? To reduce the black population ahead of the country's first non-racial elections. These claims are laid bare in a controversial new book by retired Judge Chris Nicholson, Who Really Killed Chris Hani. According to Nicholson, the apartheid regime and its business allies faced two terrifying prospects. First, Nuremberg-style trials for crimes against humanity. Second, economic redistribution promised by the ANC's Freedom Charter. So desperate were the right-wing whites to retain power and wealth, Nicholson writes, that they would consider any solution to avoid these consequences. When HIV/AIDS emerged in the early 1980s, some extremists reportedly saw a grim opportunity, not mass extermination, but something quieter, something that could be made to look natural. Nicholson writes that some white supremacists believed the virus might achieve what apartheid laws could no longer enforce. Former security branch policeman J.G. Schult, writing under a pseudonym, recalled a disturbing conversation in 1983. A soldier allegedly told him, "South Africa is busy doing research to curb blacks from multiplying. The plan is to make it look natural so the world won't suspect anything." One aspect was to make it sexually transmissible.
I just do the question again, and then you can pop in. You mentioned actively spreading AIDS?
There was a unit in from SIMA that one of the things was that we went into African countries.
And how was that done exactly?
Through inoculation.
Through vaccines?
Yeah, through vaccines. Pretending to inoculate people and that type of thing.
The idea being to black people?
Yeah, to eradicate black people. You must understand the concept was that AIDS was it was incurable at that point in time, so it was led to believe that if infected people, it was the quick, non-militaristic approach to eliminate black people.
And that is something you know for a fact, that AIDS was actively being spread to other countries?
Yes, to African countries.
At the center of these allegations lies Project Coast, apartheid's secret chemical and biological warfare program. Its head, cardiologist Dr. Wouter Basson later faced charges linked to this program during hearings at the Health Professions Council of South Africa. Academic research cited in Nicholson's book paints an alarming picture. Scholar Robin Jacob found evidence suggesting the state attempted to develop HIV as a biological weapon. One Project Coast initiative at Roodeplaat Research Laboratories allegedly sought to turn HIV into a sterility agent, targeting black women to reduce birth rates. Political scientist Jeremy Yude confirmed that significant time and money were spent exploring this possibility. In Zulu communities, rumors spread of a white doctor of death responsible for unleashing AIDS. That figure was widely believed to be Dr. Basson. The allegations go beyond research. Former Dirty Tricks operative Paul Erasmus claimed he was asked to obtain HIV-infected blood. His understanding was that HIV-positive Askaris were sent to have unprotected sex with women identified as political activists. Another claim suggests that HIV-positive women were deliberately placed in transit camps to infect returning ANC exiles. These accounts are supported by testimonies presented to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Project Coast was a very large-ranging project. It involved the creation of biochemical weapons. It involved the reduction or strategies to reduce the black population of South Africa, probably the most serious component, really. And chemicals, drugs, narcotics were deliberately synthesized by the apartheid regime in order to incapacitate people. The tragedy being that they were doctors and medical people. But then again, you must remember apartheid really didn't have any scruples at all when it came to its survival. And there were things that went on in this country during that time that makes the Nazis, frankly, appear like a Sunday school picnic.
Several large studies undertaken in South Africa that have looked at the genetic sequences of the viruses that are being transmitted have shown that we have a highly diverse set of viruses. Indeed, we have in South Africa viruses that closely mimic or resemble viruses that come from Zambia, viruses that are circulating in Malawi, viruses circulating in Mozambique and Botswana. We know that South Africa has many of these different viruses all spreading at the same time. It's thought that much of this occurred when the epidemic really took off in South Africa, which coincides roughly with the period between 1990 and 1995. So, given that we have so many different strains of HIV circulating in South Africa, we do not have a single source epidemic. In other words, we don't have one kind of HIV that has been spreading around. And it fits in well with our understanding of the way migrant labor has impacted this region and the way in which the virus entered into South Africa and then spread in many different pockets. First point is to introduce a virus into an injectable form and to be able to ensure that it remains viable in the vials or in the syringes will take quite an effort to be able to do that. The technology to be able to do that has only recently even become available, and it would take very substantial infrastructure to be able to do that. So short of having equipment and the capabilities that were present in the US CDC at the time, I would say that the prospect of that was close to zero. But let's, for argument's sake, somebody did manage to do that. If that was so, we would see a completely different epidemic in South Africa. We would not see a high diversity of different viruses. If indeed a virus or a set of viruses were spread through this kind of approach of injecting it into the population and then letting it spread, we would have seen a much smaller diversity of viruses. We would not see viruses from all our different neighbors in the current mosaic of viruses that we see. So, if it is true what has been alleged, it is incompatible with what we are seeing in terms of the genetic diversity of viruses we see in South Africa at the moment.
2 former security officers told researchers they transported HIV-positive men to Hillbrow hotels. Their instructions were simple: infect sex workers to accelerate the spread of the virus. One of the aspects was to make it a sexually transmittable disease because of the blacks' hyperactive sexual tendency and having multiple sexual partners. ANC intellectual Jabulani Mazala Nsumalo wrote before his death in 1991 that HIV might have been invented in laboratories of the military-industrial complex. Nicholson connects this to former President Thabo Mbeki's own 2000 parliamentary address, where he quoted a racist email hoping AIDS isn't working fast enough to kill black South Africans, warning that racism was not dead. At the heart of this dark narrative is Chris Hani himself. Nicholson reveals that Hani, as early as 1990, gave a prescient and urgent warning to ANC members in Maputo. We cannot afford to allow the AIDS epidemic to ruin the realization of our dreams.
Have any of you all heard of voucher Bassan?
What?
Wouter Basson.
What is a drug or is it what?
He was a doctor. He was a doctor people thought brought mandrax onto the street in South Africa.
We never heard of it. We are not following the history of drugs. We are just smoking.